Hello, good morning, and welcome to Sunrise Daily. I'm Chamberlain Uso.
Good morning, and welcome. I'm Ayo Makinde.
Yes, indeed. Today is one of those days where we go right into the dailies, and we've got Steve Wonsu here with us. He is the publisher and editor-in-chief of the Nigerian Express. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you. Good morning, Nigerians.
So there's still a lot unfolding. Let's get right to it. Let's start with Vanguard newspaper today. Kogi on fire as looting continues in Abuja, Calabar. Pregnant woman, 15 other looters die in clashes with security agents. And then, goodness, there's a host of these riders now. Police begin arrest of looters, over 80 in custody, ascribed to the Commissioner of Police. That's a Vanguard newspaper. Mop-up items stolen from garment factory, CICC, NAS members office. Others, okay, so they got there as well. Looters get 24 hours to return stolen items. Ayade offers 100,000 naira for tips. Hoodlums invades KADP, private warehouses, cart away fertilizer, rice, attack bank ATMs. Journalists hit by stray bullet. Police arrest suspects. 2 die in stampede over COVID-19 palliative in Abuja. FG shocked, begs looters to return vaccines, medical items, and it goes on. So this is where we are at the moment.
On the lighter note, they said my friend told me that the looting had been free and fair across the state. Only in Kogi they had to introduce a little bit of the traditional ta-ta-ta-ta-ta in Kogi.
Oh dear.
And others they've not been shooting, but in Kogi they shot. But it's painful really that and that's the thing about this protest. Once it becomes a Frankenstein at some stage, and you can't really rein anybody in. But I fear, I don't know how we're really going to stop this. Now it's like every state that hasn't seen something to loot yet is like it's just not happening. But my fear is what the directive that was given in Cross River, where they said they should go from house to house to begin to search for. Yes, you can use some result, but is a two-edged sword. I mean, they can pick up anybody now and say many of us will have things in our houses that we might not even have a receipt for. Yet they can't readily provide the receipt. So what happens? Somebody comes and say you stole that, and you can't prove that you didn't because there's no receipt. It's very dangerous. But then there has to be something to stop this. And the problem is this idea of the governor said they didn't hoard, but they had so much time to. I mean, there are states that shared it. I heard that Abia shared it, so everybody, Sokoto shared. So they could have done it. I didn't know what the delay was. In Lagos, they said one person said he wanted to share it on his birthday, like he wanted to do the people a favor. And this is something your government failed and couldn't provide all the palliative needed. The private sector stepped in, gave you stuff, and you're still keeping it, trying to, I don't know when you want to give it out. Somebody said he wanted to give it out on his birthday, so he will give it to the people and like birthday gift from me. Meanwhile, this is something somebody has given you free of charge. Give to people and you're holding it. But those are just the little things. Everybody has a blame together. That's not supporting what the guys are doing. And there's a lot of kleptomania going on. It's not even about hunger. You saw them pushing a tractor somewhere.
Yeah.
Some people
ripped it apart.
I mean, it's just somebody with
some take wheelchair,
signboard,
to be crippled?
signposts, and all kinds of things. People just
what about just expired medical equipment?
So you could even pick up some disease from there. Infectious disease laboratory for
what statement do you think this action of the people, what statement do you think it's making out there? What's it saying?
There's hunger in the land, there's frustration. And whether we like it or not, it's a statement that this government is doing well, but it's just not doing that well. It's not just good enough. People are frustrated. It's just simple. Because there's you can't say people are so hungry and you keep denying that they are not hungry. And I mean, everybody is so frustrated that he wants to just grab, like, as if started this Nigeria, let us just take whatever comes to us by as our own share.
From what you have seen so far, government responses at all levels, do you think government is getting the memo?
There is still this aloofness on the part of government. Some, yes, whether no matter how bad we feel about Lagos, the Lagos man is doing quite a bit. So many governors have gotten it, but some people that were sold on this narrative that it's a move to unseat the government and all that. Yes, that can come in, whether you like it or not. At the end of it, by the time a demonstration persists for so long, that it begins to question the legitimacy of the government.
If they had responded to it differently for the first week,
simple,
would this have happened?
This wouldn't have happened because somehow everybody was aloof, waiting. It's like, you know, this regular thing, they will do their own thing and go, and you don't seem to, you're not in sync with what, you don't feel the pulse of the people you are supposed to be governing. It's always this belief that it will soon die off, and that's what's...
Does that in any way question our consciousness of the security challenges that may, be around?
You see, but the problem is that we have this mindset of seeing security every time, the security of the country from the security of the government. The security of the government is just a minute part of the security of the country. But unfortunately, our military and everybody just seems to focus on the security of the government. So whatever you do, once they don't know that hunger is a major threat to security, is a bigger threat to security than any other thing. That even plotting outright coup, hunger is a more serious threat to security.
Speaking about security, 72 hours after IGP's order, policemen still off Lagos roads.
I drove to this place now. I didn't see one checkpoint, neither police, no.
But, wait. Were you expecting checkpoints?
No. There's a check, there's some kind of security.
What do they call it?
Even the military. The only place I saw some kind of police presence was on Ikodu Road, but there was a little bit of a traffic. But the truth was that they were carrying, one of the vehicles was carrying refrigerator and something. So I guess they were just moving some of their friends somewhere. It wasn't like security. And then the other one had plain clothes, normal human beings that they were trying to probably give a lift, sitting at the back. So it wasn't really more of a security patrol. But you can't really blame the police. They are like a target in this thing. But we have to find a way around it. It's not like we can't say because they've attacked police and the police should not be off-road. I have been shot in the traffic. Does it mean I won't enter traffic again? I still carry a marker with it that I have a bullet that was a shot in the traffic. That doesn't mean that I will now stay off the road. But come on, we call you policemen. That one...
Well, NSAS, Shippers Council pushes for demurrage waivers at ports. Should the authorities now have a deliberate look at doing something for the business community? Because, look, people are still going to have to pay the taxes.
I'm so happy with what the Shippers Council is proposing, because clearly so many I have a friend who is into pharmaceuticals. I went to his office about 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. He had just received a consignment the previous day. It was something he ordered in May.
Wow.
And then some they take as long as 6. They come and they just stay there. So what are you going to do? He's not there because he abandoned it. It's just because the atmosphere, the business environment is just not conducive. He can't guarantee his own security, let alone the security of what is coming in. So I think I'm happy with what the man at the Shippers Council is proposing. He let them have some kind of waiver. But for the entire business community, like I said, this is a time all over the world where every sensible country is injecting money into the hands of businesses to at least retain people at work, to keep businesses running. Every business is almost flat. It's even worse for the media. But of course, they don't even consider the media and all these ones. But even the banks are not giving anybody no facilities. All the real sector, everything, manufacturing is almost dead. So we need whatever we can do, tax waivers, whatever. Apart from the tax waivers and all those reliefs, they actually need money to be given direct to them to pick up production again, because that's the only way we can, like I say, we can only spend ourselves out of this.
Just something you said about the media. Sorry, Jemile.
We'll still have another thing that
I
you can still look at.
Just this one. You said something about that the media isn't giving its due recognition in all of these.
Yeah.
What kind of consideration should be given?
Look, the banks have issues, and the CBN runs around to back up banks to stop them from collapsing. How many times have they intervened into the aviation industry in this country? There are all kinds of all kinds of loans, but you, the media, they want to push you into your MSME. Meanwhile, you are not talking of a 50,000 naira, 50 million naira operation. You are talking of hundreds of million, billion business, and then they just abandon you. And then there's almost like that seeming desire, that sadistic desire to watch you die. I mean, I don't want to talk about it, but we are in it. Is in the midst of all this, that somebody is still slamming some kind of surcharge and punishment on media houses for what is clearly a government running behind schedule that is not in tune with the time. You sit up and say, how can you lose something from a media, from a DJ? For goodness sake, DJ, in this age of citizen journalism, somebody generates something, you say it's not a verifiable. What other verification do you need for that? And then did you say, everybody that used it said, we use it for, this person brought it, this is the person it was on, everybody saw it, and then you just ignore it. And that is why we have this problem. We don't think that the social media has become part of this thing we call journalism practice and news dissemination. That's why so many universities are, unfortunately, the man is a professor of mass communication, and he teaches. That's why many mass comm departments are not teaching social media as a major. It has gone to the stage that it should become a major aspect, that you just go and read BSc social media, not just BSc mass comm, that is what some of us read, but now it's no longer tenable. You need to break that thing down, because social media is a major part of it, and then you can't just say you won't use it because it's coming from social media. And then they are punishing you when they should be giving people money to keep operation, to keep informing people, because it's a cost-intensive business.
I guess the authorities need to know that times have changed.
Yeah.
And so they need to change with the times.
Basically.
Well, Mr. and Mrs. Mrs. is just somewhere saying, welcome, dear. I hope what you're carrying on your head are not looted foodstuff from a COVID-19 palliative warehouse. And Mr. says, of course not. And Mrs. Somewhere says, fine. Let me see the receipts. So, just in case he wants to be sure. Well, look at the back page of Vanguard Sports. Saudi club sack Ahmed Musa. And then Guardiola replacement. Man City consider Pochettino Nagelsmann. So already you have some sort of thoughts there. So, but that's Vanguard this morning.
The football has taken up.
Yeah.
Well, Daily Independent is also talking about the NSAS protests, but the lead is, those behind Lekki shootings will be dealt with. Sanwo-Olu says, we will make CCTV footage available to panel. Panel urges victims of Lekki shootings to come forward. Are you hopeful?
Not too hopeful. Much as Sanwo-Olu wants them to be brought to book, as it were. But we also know that if you listen to his the interview he had with one of these cable, you see there are a lot of breaks, hesitation to say certain things. The truth is that even if they indict some military officers there now, he doesn't have the powers to bring them to call them to order, to bring them. And they kept asking him, are you going to bring them to, yes or no? He kept dancing around. I said, they will surely be dealt with. But let's wait and see how it goes. If they are denying that it was firecracker, like we were having some Christmas party that they would go and start shooting fireworks, and then we saw pictures of live bullets and blank bullets, and they said they were only silver bullets, but we saw bronze bullets.
Oh, yeah. Well, something similar on page 28. We now know barracks of soldiers who shot protesters in Lekki. That's according to Falana. See, he'll testify at that panel. Economy bleeding from mass looting, arson. That's according to the federal government. Fears record spike in COVID-19 infections soon. That story is also on page 28. It will seem like we just seem to be carrying on like
the COVID-19 thing, because everybody is trying to, we hear the narrative now, because youths have been demonstrating, and so they have been gathering and there might be spike. But they also forget that the politicians were holding their rallies non-stop. They held it in Ekiti, they have been holding it all over. That doesn't spike COVID. Abuja that wanted to stop anti-SARS protests because of COVID protocol, we heard that there was also approval for some people for 2 million man march to support government, and so it's just a question of who is fooling who. The truth is that, yes, why not underscoring the need for the COVID protocol, but I mean, it's not like when it favors the authorities, they will say, let's stop public gathering, large gatherings. But when it's in their interest, they pretend they don't know. And people go to political rallies not even wearing masks and climbing all over themselves.
There are so many other stories to pick on the front page of the Daily Independent this morning, so let me leave it there.
Well, look at Nigerian Tribune. UK to judicial panels investigate all incidents. Police arrest 433 hoodlums in Kwara, Adamawa, Calabar, Ondo, FCT, Taraba. Plateau government designates 7 courts to prosecute 307 suspects. Banks, businesses closed as soldiers take over roads in Oshogbo. Hoodlums hijacked palliative distribution in Ogun. Gunshots in Lokoja. Makinde sets aside 500 million naira compensation fund. But this perspective of UK to judicial panels investigate all incidents, what dimension could this be?
That tells you that much as we might think we are on our own here, the world is seeing what is happening here. It's not, we might even deny that this didn't happen. The world is seeing what is happening. And we are also not living in our small, the world has gone beyond what it used to be in like 1983, 93. The things have moved on and everybody has interest. Yes, you might not expect that they will come, like they say, they might not put boots on the ground here, but they will do whatever they can to nudge us in the right direction.
Even though primarily the ball is in our courts.
The ball is
in terms of
still
what
still in our court, yeah.
All right, that's Tribune this morning.
The Guardian newspaper is interested in what's happening on the front page of the Guardian newspaper's front page is almost always talking about the economy. Nigerian economy at risk over lingering crisis. Cost of living reaches all-time high. Inflation rate escalates, defies economic principles. Protest may enhance accountability, improve investment outlook. That's what you find on the front page of the Guardian newspaper. What do you make of this?
It's stating the obvious. The economy is in a mess. Unfortunately, we're not going to get out of it because we have to find a way to stop this protest. Yes, the authentic protesters, the youths that actually protest have taken the back seat, because what we have now just hoodlums on rampage. I'm not asking that the army should open fire on Nigerians, but it might need some kind of maybe show of force, not necessarily opening fire, to deter, to stop this. Even if it's curfew, you implement it. If you are imposing curfew, for goodness sake, you ensure that you implement it. Although a lot of funny people, it's like we are between the devil and the deep blue sea now, and that's because of how we mishandled this crisis at the beginning. Now it's gone to, there's nothing the military does that will not backfire. If you don't open fire, they will say, or if you don't arrest the situation, they say you are not doing anything, you are clueless. If you open fire, it means that you are heartless. So something but there has to be a middle way somehow, some kind of show of force to peg back these hoodlums, and then so the economy can, it's not like the economy was particularly healthy before now, but then at least we can remove this obstacle and know what our problems really are.
A number of other issues on the front page, but let's leave it there for now.
And then on to Daily Trust. Tackle looters. Vorotai tells military commanders will resist plots to destabilize Nigeria. That's a quote from there. Military should be circumspect. Experts. Looters cut away tractors in Adamawa. Hospital beds in Taraba. What is this?
I feel as much as I'm angry with the way the military handled this thing, especially because of Lekki Angle, I also feel for them. But this idea of, yes, of course, we tell them, occupy, hold your, as they say in the street lingo, hold your side. The military should secure their barracks so because by the time we see hoodlums attacking military barracks, we will probably have lost it completely. But the military should also realize that it's not about fire for fire. It's not about opening fire. But then there has to be a way of tackling. Yes, this looting needs to be. We need to halt it.
But in terms of security, the military can't keep doing these things in this kind of democratic dispensation. Whatever happens to police? Because people are talking about state police now. Who's going to resist it? The same National Assembly that they felt. What happens now?
The way, you see, Nigeria is a skewed system. You can't get. It's like having failed to get things done through military fiat. It's like there's nothing to expect from this National Assembly. If you want to amend that, the problem lies with our constitution and it's everything wrong about it. We need to tweak things a lot. But when you you say restructuring, some people get jittery. You say constitutional amendment, some people get jittery. You say state police, they get jittery. But clearly, the state governments fund the police. The only thing is
they don't control.
No control. And then whatever happens, you just say that's why they can set up panels on SARS excesses, make recommendation, forward it, and then the police authority will just put it there. But if the governor was really the chief security officer, fully in charge of it, it's not just enough to say set up committee. Governors are setting up committees, everybody is setting up everything, and now they will now make recommendation and now send it to the same police that ab initio didn't want to do nothing about this.
So, all right. Well, so many issues there, but quickly take the Nigerian News Direct. Well, NSAS protests. Outrage over sanction of AIT channels, Arise TV. That's the lead story.
Yes, Channels was among great.
It's on the front page.
People are owing us 3 million, or is it 5 million? So,
among other stories on the front page.
Every sane human being should be enraged with that fine that was slammed on the media houses site. I'm not happy about it. But then and it's this idea of we against them. Instead of tackling the problem, you're looking for scapegoats and who to everything. You tie it down to there's a move to unseat the government. And once you have come with that mindset, you close your mind. You can't see the larger picture. You are not able to see. And this is how the journey to Somali, the journey to Rwanda. I don't even want to say Rwanda because Rwanda turned around. Somali, Libya, you just keep going. Protests, you clamp down, the protesters come back, and then before you know it, they're attacking my area. They start picking any person, and the middle class, we are almost gone, dead, or non-existent already, but we'll be the first target. They target us, then all the big men run away. Before you know it, we have a failed country. And this is how it starts. But to stop, to check that is what we should. This idea of this military reading riot act is not what is going to solve it. The solution is political. It lies on the table of the president. It lies with the National Assembly. We have to sit down and see how we can tweak things to get us, to ensure some level of justice in the system, some level of equity in the system, some level of fairness in the system. If that, until those ones are, people will keep demonstrating, the youth will keep, and like somebody was saying, there's nothing we can do to stop this youth. It's a movement that its time has come.
All right, then. So there you go. Thank you very much indeed, Steve Nwosu, publisher of the Nigerian Express. We're back in a moment. Join us again. Welcome back. Well, there was looting of government facilities which continued yesterday in Lokoja, Kogi State capital. Residents besieged a warehouse in Zone 8 to help themselves to relieve materials stored there. But a similar incident occurred on Sunday night at ADP warehouse when it was invaded, and several bags of fertilizer, water pumps, bags of rice, seedlings were carted away. There were sporadic gunshots, which led to people scampering for safety, closing shops along Murtala Muhammad Way. The police public relations officer, Mr. William Aya, did say that the gunshots were from hoodlums who were trying to scare people away, and that they are working to ensure that they get onto them because they are on their tail. Well, this morning we've been joined by His Excellency Yahaya Bello, Governor of Kogi State, to shed some light on what is going on. Good morning, and thank you for joining us today on the program.
Thank you very much, and good morning, Chamberlain, and your members there. Good morning, viewers.
All right, so looking at this whole scenario, well, of course, the big question is why? How come these materials were in those warehouses, which eventually then led to people looting them? What's the reason behind this?
Thank you very much. I think this is one question that will require me to start from the beginning. How come the whole of this situation and this scenario and the country? You see, when unfortunate incidents of this nature happens, let's get to the root of the matter, not just treating the surface. You will recall early this year that an alien disease called COVID was imported into this country. And I spoke, I cautioned, I warned, I advised against this COVID-19 of a thing and the management of it. My advice was never heeded to. Those who planned the whole scenario of COVID never listened to a little voice like ours. They went ahead. Nigerians were ill-advised. We were confused. We were misdirected. And here we have one of the very many effects of that unfortunate decision. Now we had COVID at hand, a glorified malaria. Billions of naira, billions of dollars were siphoned by few individuals.
Do you know these individuals?
To a certain level. Please.
Are they Nigerians?
I'm coming. Let me just take it there. They are Nigerians. They are Nigerians. in government and outside the government, in business empires, and very few middlemen. Billions were siphoned. I will zero it down to your question. But before then, Kogi State is the only state that refused to accept that there is COVID-19 that would kill people. If there's COVID-19, it emanates from China. China has long grown and has gone beyond the issue of COVID-19. I did say that COVID-19 is political. I did say that COVID-19 has economic undertone and several others, and political undertone. We are saying it has come to play, but we're still not addressing it. We're still blindfolded and we're still following. I did remember that there are so many scholars and experts who said that if recession is the only effect that we have from this lockdown as a result of the unfortunate COVID-19, then we'll be grateful for it. We're still in the same year. We have still locked down and the effect of it. Youths are locked down at home, doing nothing. ASU on strike. Youths are locked down at home. Hike and hype in crimes and criminality. Now comes the idea of palliative for those that were locked down. Remember in Kogi State, we didn't lock down because we had no COVID-19. We allowed people to go about their businesses. And there was peace and orderliness in Kogi State. And we were healthy. Now, the issue of palliative came in one of these meetings when the captains of industries came together to assist those that were locked down, unfortunately. I will make it clearly known that not every governor supported the issue of that palliative, the way and manner it was handled. And I am one of those that did not support that idea, especially the way and manner it was handled. For crying out loud, why would a governor hoard palliative? Remember, I am 5 years running now into this in this government. From the one that I came into office, and those who care to know my background, I have been doing palliative before coming into office. And ever since I came into office, we've been carrying out various palliatives and support systems for our people, for the less privileged, for the deprived, unfortunate Nigerians. Be it Christmas, Salah, Easter, festivities, and
Your Excellency, we appreciate you're trying to give us a background.
Interventions.
Yeah, we appreciate you're trying to give us a background. But what happened in this particular incident? Because you laid on so many things that we need to take up on.
I'm coming there. Please, I want to, because this is an opportunity, a very golden opportunity for me to address Nigerians. Let us actually know, let's address the youth. I am the #1 youth in government today. Whether anybody likes it or not, it is by the special grace of God Almighty. And I must say the truth so that I'll be vindicated once again. We have been doing all of this palliative, and so all other governors, whether APC or PDP, we do all these palliatives and the rest. So why would the governor hoard those things? How much are you going to make out of it? We did canvass that various assistance that wants to be given should be channeled to various governors as he or she deemed fit. Why would you bring me rice when I have Confluence rice here? Why would you ship gari to me when my women here, we have cassava here and we're producing gari here? Why would you send Maggi to me when we have other local dealers here that I can buy from? And that is what we've been doing as me in Kogi State here. And I know very well of other state governors who do the same. And there has never been this chaos. There has never been this pandemonium. There has never been this crisis. Now, those COVID materials were brought, handled by them, It's so unfortunate that even we among us, the governors, we don't so much trust each other because of very few interests. To the extent that we are allowing ourselves to be ridiculed. You're bringing three trailers of rice or whatever to me, and you want to do pre and post audits. What an embarrassment. And here, this is where we found ourselves. Whether we like it or not, truth is truth.
So if I could ask you this one, Your Excellency, don't worry, we'll have some time.
Those items were brought to us, and
Okay.
they say that they must come and flag it off.
Okay.
Imagine that. They must come and flag it off, those COVID items. 3 trailers, 5 trailers at most to some bigger states. They must come and flag it off. Since when? And Nigerians know that food items are in these stores. But in Kogi State, what we did, we started sharing our palliative because it's what we do every now and then.
So before you move on to that next point, so if we could understand what you're saying, now from some of the background you've given, at least this last few minutes, that suggests that the governors and the CACOVIC committee were not on the same page in terms of how these materials or the kind of materials they needed to send first, how the materials needed to be distributed, procedures and management of all of those. So they just didn't agree. And that suggests then that some governors now felt, well, fine, if you're going to have to wait or treat us the way you're treating us because of these palliatives, we might as well just leave it right there. Is that what happened?
Thank you very much. You see, when decisions are taken at a certain fora, or let me say in a forum, and it is taken, I mean, sometimes you can't come out and say, no, social decisions are taken and I'm not part of it. But when it goes, wrong, I think it's better we speak out. It's better we speak out. Let me tell you that not all of us as governors are on the same page with that decision and the way and manner. Of course, it's not our money. It is not state money, so it is their money. They put it together and they decided with few governors and decided to go that way. And then those of us who feel otherwise, because we do some of those things on our own periodically, we decided to be sharing. In my state, in Kogi State, we shared those palliatives to various local governments. What happened is that out of 21 local governments, only one, which is local, the one where we are in now, started sharing theirs. But because of the bad media we have today and the social media, one thing is happening here and it is echoed everywhere. Somebody in the social media now just put it out there. Oh, there's a store here, there's a store there, there's a store there in Kogi State. Go there and then loot. Then people became impatient with the local government that are sharing there, which is Lokoja local government. And then we have to now wade in to ensure that there's speedy distribution. And it was distributed, very, smoothly. Only, to discover that in the night, some imported hoodlums and criminals, started vandalizing the ADP warehouse, where chemicals and other, agrochemicals, fertilizers, farm implements were stored. Remember, just about 2 weeks ago, within 10 days now, we launched about 3 different agricultural programs in Kogi State. And even though, unfortunately, channels never aired one of it, but, quick to air, vandalization of items. So now they went there to vandalize those items. Law enforcement agencies swiftly moved into, to our rescue and recovered those items. The following day, they went to where, relief materials were kept. Just recently, Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and NEMA visited us as a result of flooding.
Yeah, but Your Excellency, pardon me, I'm trying to understand, which incident occurred that you say channels didn't cover?
We launched 100 tractors. We launched appeals program and one other program like that, all in agriculture. In appeals program, we cluster farmers. We encourage youths and women that are going to access 2 million naira each to come together and have a common facility to use in a farm. So what we did is that across the state, we were able to identify various farms, open farm, clear lands for them, empower them with this 2 million naira each.
Yeah, but Your
And at
Excellency,
least 100 youth per local government.
if you say that wasn't covered,
we're
that was on the,
providing
Your Excellency, just a minute, Your Excellency,
roads,
that was on the
providing
18th of
other
October.
facilities for them.
That was on the 18th of October. And take a look at the screen now, because when they accuse the media of not doing this, look at this. This was aired on the 18th of October. Channels covered it. So maybe your media people didn't give you that information. Yes, governors are busy, but that's it right there.
Okay. Thank you very much for that.
It was covered.
So now, these were you can see, thank you very much for this. So these were the programs we launched, and we kept those materials over there and we're distributing it, to our youth and women gradually. And then these hoodlums, these criminals went to vandalize them. These are not palliatives.
Let me ask you this. Now, we know that there was some sort of, I think the ministry, humanitarian ministry, in April this year, the state received some palliatives from that ministry. And then, others received by the government from Kakovich. So if you were not on the same page, number one, why is it that the governors couldn't say, look, I'm not on the same page with this. I don't agree with this. We don't have to be forced to abide by these things that we are not happy with, because you're the number one person in the state. You are responsible for your state in terms of how things go. So how come you didn't say, well, look, if you're bringing it in and we're not happy with the way you're bringing it, set up your team, your agency, whatever it is in the States, go ahead, distribute these things yourselves, as opposed to leaving them in the warehouse for months and then it had to come to this.
We did not receive those materials in April. Those materials were not received in all the states, or majority of the states in April. Some of them were as late as even September.
Yes, September 16, and some of them April.
Exactly. And because it is what we, Kogi State, that's what we do. If you look at those materials, they're not just COVID items, especially from these warehouses. There are other foodstuff that on our own we have purchased to take care of, IDPs, motherless, homes, less privileged. This is what we do periodically. And only to realize that even the COVID stuff that were provided or supplied are already expiring. And then I have to order them that, look, add it to what we are distributing and share it across the local government. And they were done very smoothly. And I want to believe so also other states. So it is not as if governors are hoarding those items. But please, let me quickly go into this. These are just one of the effects of this so-called COVID-19. Let's not just gloss over it or just be reacting based on the impulse of the moment.
Well,
dear Nigerians, let me tell you, and my brother, what is happening today, so-called NSAS, is politically motivated. Whether anybody say it or not, I am saying it once again, and quote me anywhere, any day. And I'll
Why do you say so?
Why would you demand for 5 items, 5 for 5, and you are granted and refuse to take it? Which struggle, which agitation, which uprising across the world has ever succeeded without leadership?
But
that is number one.
Are you saying, just one moment, Your Excellency, are you saying that you do not agree with the agitations of the protesters?
100% I agreed, 100%. But if you look at what is happening today, then you have no option than to classify it as politically motivated. And let me tell you, this is a ploy to set we the youth of this country
sorry, Your Excellency,
Your
Excellency, just one moment. If you say that you are with them 100% and you are still saying that it is politically motivated, by whom?
But those who set them up. But the politicians who have hands in NSAS.
You know them?
But those who continue to shift the goalpost when the demands were met. But those who continue to profiteer from it,
but you know, part
and
of
those
what
who have set to profiteer from
part of
it.
what transpired, Your Excellency, which is equally out there, is that after SARS was scrapped, not long after, the police authorities did say, look, we're going to embark on training, retraining, and ensure things are done properly. But it wasn't equally long after, then there was this announcement of SWAT. Number one is that, did we see a list of all the members of SARS? Now, when you set up SWAT in a very short time, and people don't know why that was done, know the explanation or the reasons behind it, they were not aware of that. The impression was, how could you have set it up in such a short time? Who are going to be members of this SWAT? Isn't it just a name change? That was the way it came across, and people said, wait a minute, no, that this couldn't be. This was not the impression we have of the police hierarchy. So if they continue asking questions based on that, what's wrong with that?
A lot is wrong with that. You see, let me tell you, Chamberlain, you asked for end SARS. And remember, not everybody believes in ending the SARS. And if you say SARS are even wrong in doing one thing or the other, the best way to have agitated was to simply ask for the reform of the total security overhaul. A security architecture. In the military today, in the Air Force, in the Navy, even civil defense, there are bad eggs. Do you end those security outfits? That is number one. Number two, even in the media today, as good as social media is, it has its own disadvantages that has set even countries and nations, on collusion course. Do you end the media? We continue to ask for reformation. We continue to ask for reformation. Now, how do we? Okay, now SARS has been ended. Police morale has been dampened. They've gone off the streets. The hoodlums have taken over. Who do we report to? I think we should have articulated our points and go about it in a more credible way, not to be used by politicians. Look, Chamberlain, let me tell you whether we like it or not. You say that I say it again. This is 2023 playing out by few individuals who felt they can continue to use us in this country. And I am urging all the youths across the country to please return back home.
Well,
we are being used once again.
We'll go to break
this time
because
around, in a very dangerous way.
We'll come back to some of the issues that you've raised in just a moment. Please stay with us. Welcome back to Sunrise Daily. We still do have His Excellency Yahaya Bello, Governor of Kogi State, on the show. Well, yes, many have listened to what you've said, but quite a number still wonder the key issue. Why? Because you may be talking about 2023 COVID, sundry issues, why, what, when, how people are being used, which we'll hope to come to before we end this segment. But importantly, those palliatives that were being looted by citizens, residents, in fact, in Kogi, there were gunshots. Now, as much as governors have put up their position, Kakuve does well, but it doesn't look good. They think that from what they have seen, they're not convinced that all that you have said wasn't deliberate hoarding of those items, because that was why who knows what transpired. So could you categorically tell us, because many think all of what happened could have been avoided. There was ample time to distribute those materials, but that didn't happen.
Thank you, Chamberlain. You're taking me back once again, and I'll go back and come back here quickly. You're talking of all this could have been avoided. Yes, all this could have been avoided if we had treated COVID-19 the way we treated Ebola in Nigeria. I will not sit down here as a governor and charge my commissioner of health not to allow Ebola into the state. And I'll sit in my office and tell me that one alien has sneaked in. I should give him 1.6 million naira to chase away the Ebola or the COVID-19, and he'll come back and tell me that that's spread, I'll fire him. And I'll make sure he faces the consequences. All of this brouhaha would have been avoided. That is number one. That's where we should start from. You see, we should stop treating effects. Let's start from the cause at all times if we want to get things right in this country. Now, coming to issue of all this would have been avoided in terms of this COVID-19 of a thing, that Nigerians are not believing us. Of course, that was the grand design to discredit governors. A grand design to discredit Mr. President. A grand design to set the youth against one another. Again, a grand design to set the masses against one another. Look, time shall come, I will say a lot. I will say a lot. I have a lot in mind. I know too much, and I'll speak.
Before you say some of those other things which we would like you to say, secondly is that if you say this is a grand design to discredit whoever, you didn't believe in COVID. I think Kogi State had only about 5 people overall, the 5 cases. Why did you accept the palliatives? Not once, not twice, but several.
Let me give you an example. This is not the first time we're receiving relief materials from well-spirited Nigerians. In most cases, you are asked to come and pick them and apply it your own way. But this is completely different. Relief material is just a tip of the iceberg. Let me reveal something to you. The federal government gave each state 1 billion each. The World Bank is poised, let me put it that way, to give each state 1.1 billion naira. The 1 billion from federal government, I accepted, because that is the federal government's fund to be given to quench or kill the effect of COVID-19. Remember, even though we had no one single COVID-19 case in Kogi State, that 5 in the number that you're talking of is NCD's figure. They can't prove it any day, anytime. Now, even though we have no COVID-19 in Kogi State, but we are equally affected because our economy was equally affected. And federal government released those funds to assist every state. And I will not reject it. That is number one. Number two, the World Bank 1.1 billion. I was meant to sign a certain MOU, which I refer to as one-sided agreement or letter or document. And I refused. Go and check records. Do your investigative journalism. Kogi State is the only state that refused to sign that document for 1.1 billion. Because first, I did not believe in that COVID. First 100 million has been disbursed. Kogi State didn't receive. And I refused to receive. And I rejected it. I don't know when the 1 billion will be disbursed. I will not receive it. So when you're talking of palliative, this is food stuff. That's
just to follow up.
Captains of industries every
just
now
to follow up on this particular
to
scenario.
Give to our people.
Yeah, just pardon me. Let me just follow up on that before you move on to the next point. Hope you don't lose your train of thought.
Yeah.
We also heard from Grapevine that at some meeting with your colleagues, governors, that while some of these were being talked about, you requested to access some of those funds, and then they jokingly did ask you, but you don't believe in some of these funds, so why would you then want to accept this? Because they thought you would have blatantly said, I want no part of this, to stick to my principle. Did that happen?
You see, when in a meeting like this, before you start any meeting, you exchange jokes and banters. But when it comes to reality, you tell yourself reality. Anybody that knows me, all my colleagues knows me very well. And of course, Nigerians are knowing me now today that I speak the truth and I act realistically. If I refuse to receive 1.1 billion because I don't believe in COVID-19, what is COVID? Indomie noodles and rice. So we've been receiving a lot of these palliative materials, from well-spirited Nigerians, and then we are using it for our people. Look, even in this particular COVID era, a copper donated a whole of her 1 month alawi in an account. And these are the accounts we use in setting up, in preparation for the setting up of isolation centers and other stuff. For the treatment, isolation, the establishment of infectious disease control center that we have in Kogi State here today. For crying out loud, we are building billions of naira hospital. We call it reference hospital in Central. We're building over 2 billion naira general hospitals across the 3 senatorial districts.
Yeah, but Excellency, pardon me to pardon again.
1 billion naira of COVID.
Okay, but if much as you didn't believe and agree with what the agreement and how all of this went out, if you had maybe put in place mechanisms or facilities to ensure that they're distributed to the people, would that have destroyed anything? The economy, would they have achieved their purpose? Because you talk about 2023.
From the beginning, I have told you that we periodically share food items across Kogi State. And this time around, while in the continuation of sharing, which, in all the 21 local governments, Lokoja local government was slow in the distribution of theirs. And because of the social media instigation, the people of Lokoja became agitated and impatient. I don't know if you're hearing me.
We can hear you.
They became very impatient, and then that was why we had to rush. We don't have to rush the distribution of the materials to them in Lokoja only.
When did you discover that they were? When did you discover that they were slow?
Hoodlums.
When did you discover they were slow?
In fact, it was basically on that day that I learned that look, there are a lot of crowd gathered in the warehouse, and I had to now ask why, because other local government even decided to be sharing it house to house, community by community. So and everything went on very well.
So you didn't know?
Out of 21 local governments, only Lokoja.
You didn't know that Lokoja hadn't shared theirs up until 2 days ago?
Having given the responsibility to the local governments, having given the responsibilities to local government to handle, and the whole 20 local government, 20 out of 21, handled, why should I be concerned so much about only one local government? Ordinary distribution of materials, which they are used to doing periodically.
Your Excellency, talking about that periodic
so it is not
activity.
Any issue over
yes,
there.
Just one moment, Your Excellency. Over time, the information has always been out there about the poverty rate in the country. And northern Nigeria, largely, all figures, all research points to the fact that the poverty rate, the poverty issue is much more serious in the northern part of Nigeria, which your state belongs to. Before COVID-19, how serious, in your opinion, was the poverty question, which was heightened by the fact that COVID-19 hit?
Poverty is an endemic problem, not only in the northern part of the country, but across Nigeria. Because even if you look at it critically today, you don't isolate North alone to be poor. There's so much reached southern states where the whole of this breaking into the stores and shops, that's where it started from. In fact, if there's anybody or any of the hoodlums in the north or any other part that partake in this looting, they simply copied from the rich and very, buoyant states. So,
yeah, but Your Excellency, the question that I'm asking, just one moment. Yes, we understand. But the question that I'm asking, irrespective of whether or not it started anywhere, and I think it's an excuse for any one of us to say because it started in one area, it's nothing that anybody wants to validate as being good at all or not. But then that reaction by so many of these people who looted only indicated a bigger problem. Do you agree? What kind of problem do you think that action of these many people in a significant number of states in Nigeria, how serious do you think that reaction of these Nigerians looting this place, how serious a problem do you think it exposes?
Let me take it this way. You see, we shouldn't dwell too much on that. First, I agree that there's poverty. There's poverty in the country. We inherited it, starting from federal government to various state governments. We're doing our best to ensure that we tackle it. But if we're addressing the issue of poverty as a result of, as an effect or with catalyst for this looting and what have you, what would you say of looting that took place recently in United States of America as a result of BLM, Black Lives Matter, and several other European countries? So let's not just make it peculiar to Kogi State or Nigeria alone. Yes, there's poverty, and that's why Mr. President has come up with several programs to address this poverty. That's why Kogi State, for instance, have come up with several programs: agriculture, medium and small scale enterprise. In fact, even youth, there's something we call youth empowerment or entrepreneurship fund that was just launched even of recent, in addition to the various SIPs of the federal government, in addition to the various programs by every state governor, including APC and PDP governors, and my brother, my neighbor here, the Abga state. We're doing all of this to ensure that we pull our people out of the woods. This is a result of the maladministration of the previous. Even though people who said, don't talk about the previous. But if you don't know where you're coming from, how would you forge ahead? So these are the issues that we are grappling with. So it shouldn't be peculiar to Nigeria or northern part of the country or one particular session. It is a global
Your Excellency,
problem.
I get it that it is, and everyone agrees that it's a generic problem, it's a global problem, but it's not every country in the world that has been labeled poverty capital of the world. Nigeria is our own, and it's only significant that we pay attention to that. All of the actions of Mr. President and the various state governors notwithstanding, how significant, in your opinion, do you think the efforts being made over time to eradicate or deal with or reduce the poverty rate is, given all the looting that has happened? That's the question that I'm asking you.
In my opinion, all the programs from federal government to all the states governments, the efforts they are making to pull the people out of the woods are significant and very important. It just requires patience and concerted educating our people, enlightening them to be patient until we're able to get out of it. You see, labeling Nigeria as one of the capital, poverty capital of the world or poverty-stricken country across the world. You see, it is all about, putting figures together. Have you gone driven through the so-called America that everybody wants, that is called heaven today? You go there and see people, picking things along the streets. Go to even India here that are borrowing people money. You go there and see people chasing rats up and down, and several other countries like that. So let's not talk down our country, for crying out loud. Nigeria is by far better than so many countries. All those ratings, it is just a matter of convenience and what anybody that is driving it wants to have. Nigeria is doing well. We will do well. Please permit me this opportunity to say this. You see, let us not set ourselves against each other. There are very microscopic few who are either using one platform, either social media, conventional media, or exploring our ignorance and exploring the poverty of the country that are ravaging the country now, not only to profiteer, but to ensure that the good governance we are even demanding, the youth in governance that we are demanding, we never see it. Would you, tomorrow, trust the youth if we continue to set ourselves ablaze like this? Because that is exactly what they've come out and set to achieve.
All right,
I'm calling on all the youth of this country to please sheath their sword. Let us articulate and organize ourselves well. If we really want a better country and good governance. Protest is good, it's allowed, I support it, I accept it. But we must organize ourselves and really see in between the lines that those who are there are not willing to hand over to the youths.
All right, Your Excellency, let me bring in this point.
And take over.
Let me bring in this because there's a statement that was put out by CACOVID. So part of the statement read, we are aware that official flagging off and handover of the palliatives has taken place in 28 states and the FCT, and state governments have been distributing at various paces. As of today, October 26, 2020, that's when it was released, some states have confirmed completion of their distribution, while others were in the process of proceeding with the distribution before these looting took place. By these looting incidents, it meant that some intended beneficiaries had been deprived the opportunity of benefiting from CACOVID's good intentions. This clearly shows that, look, it's been, at the moment, it appears as though states who didn't distribute were at fault.
Well, I will not hold brief for any state that refused to distribute. Maybe they have their own reason. But like I said, in Kogi State, we have been distributing. We have been having flood issues. We have been giving palliatives ever since we came into office. We didn't wait for CACOVID. And like I said, let Nigerians don't allow this issue to set us apart and against each other, because the intention is completely different.
Okay.
I did say that when COVID came into this country, that few people are going to profiteer, and that's what happened. And I'm saying it again, that few individuals are setting certain agenda for 2023. Now, from NSAS to hoodlums vandalizing CACOVID shops, to various, youths or people saying, IPOB, making statements. Various groups are making statements. This is unfortunate. But it shouldn't be.
Your Excellency,
we must speak as Nigerians.
As we wind down on this one, because when you say talk about 2023, people using who, but there are several images too. For instance, they think that the authorities brought this upon themselves, different ways. But isn't it insensitive to talk about politics, people using the youth to do certain things, when many would have thought, look, if the government had approached these things differently the very first week, would people have taken over, infiltrated the ranks, and then getting us to where we are today?
If we hadn't allowed COVID to come into this country, if we hadn't managed it the way we managed it, if billions of dollars were not siphoned as we speak at federal level and some other levels, if our people are not impoverished, we wouldn't have gotten to this level. That's number one. Kogi State has no COVID-19. Kogi State have been doing and have been engaging in various palliatives and empowerment programs. And we have been sharing all these items long before now. Out of 21 local government, 20 local governments shared theirs successfully. In Lokoja, they were going on successfully until hoodlums were imported to come.
I was talking about the initial protest about SARS and their brutality to Nigerians, the young people who were protesting, because if you look across the board, many just subscribed to it in principle or partially. They just thought it was about time that something needed to be done. And then the question is, if the authorities had handled it differently, we will not have gotten to where we are today, where you're talking about people taking advantage. So shouldn't government look inwards or look in the mirror in terms of how this degenerated?
I commend Mr. President. I commend the IGP for a swift and for the very first time responding and answering the call and the demands of protesters. SARS was ended. That was the demand. 5 for 5. It was granted. At that point, we should have taken the goods and the gains and get off the streets to have avoided all this looting. That is where we missed it.
What steps were taken at the time that was ended? Do you have a list of the members of SARS and the members of SWAT to distinguish between those two agencies?
I am not the Inspector General of Police, and I'm not Mr. President. But what we know and what you know is that it was 505 that was granted. Mr. President even came to make an announcement to that effect. He announced that SARS was ended, and it is the first step in ensuring that police and other security agencies are reformed.
Yeah, but Your Excellency, I mean, if
at that point, we should
if you
have
as a governor don't have the list of all the members of SARS, and then SWAT was set up, you don't have the list of those members. So what do you then think people out there will think, saying, wait a minute, if you scrapped SARS, albeit well-intended, if you set up SWAT, again, albeit well-intended, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. So isn't it a question of trust, government communicating with the people to let them know that, no, these things are different?
We must learn to trust government, like I said.
But
this is our government, this is our country.
Trust is earned.
Look, excuse me, Chamberlain. Yes, trust is earned. You make a demand and it was granted. You said you wanted, you didn't ask for the list of all the SARS members?
Do they have to ask for it before they show to them?
You don't ask for the list of all the SWAT? You say NSAS. You say NSAS. SARS was ended. And you asked for one was given. So what else?
How did you come to the conclusion? Now, but let's also put this out there. I mean, nobody likes the loss of lives. Nobody likes police formations that are being attacked and policemen being, gruesomely attacked by mobs. Nobody likes those businesses or private individuals who are also being attacked. Nobody wants chaos in any part of the country. Everybody wants peace. The rule of law must take its course. But there are huge questions about how did you come to the conclusion that this is about 2023 or people were being used by who, in addition to the fact that the scenario in Lekki, the shootings in Lekki equally occurred?
When you begin to shift goalposts from 5 to 5 and your list is endless, including all the various political agitations of the past, you don't need the soothsayer to tell you that this is political. It is unfortunate that lives were lost, which ordinarily shouldn't. 5 for 5 was given. But then we should have taken it and then move on from there.
You say you're the #1 youth, at the moment. Are you in touch with them?
Yeah.
Do you subscribe? Because they listen to you, they could wonder, they will disagree with you on many pages. So can you say you're in touch with them in terms of what they want and how
Kogi State Youth listens to me because they know they have one of theirs in government. My cabinet are full of youths and women. They listen to me very well. I came out to make a broadcast that it was generally believed, or it was peddled in the media that this NSAS is generic. It's organic. It's organic, and they have no leadership. And I came out and said, I offer that leadership.
Well, many of them might want to question you on that, Your Excellency. But there's something that you said I just want to very, very quickly get your response on before we take this break. Now, the federal government had said that the states should supervise the tactical teams in the police tactical teams in their various states. What law do you think supported that? And would you have been able to do it legally?
Very good. Very good. Let me quickly point out to you that in Kogi State, in Kogi State, we do our thing differently. Usually we are proactive. We envisaged, we envisioned, and we take action now. We discovered that there are various cases of human rights violations ever since we came into office. And we came up with this executive bill, which was passed into law. Human rights, what do you call it? Let me just give me. We call it Public Defenders and Civil Rights Violations Commission. We set it up in Kogi State in 2019. And immediately the issue of NSAS came. We equally, because they were charged with ensuring that any human being whose rights were violated are quickly attended to, and they're free of charge. Then,
all right, Your Excellency.
In addition to that, we set up,
Okay, we actually need to wind down, but listening to you, one wonders, when you offer to lead, and if they had accepted, I wonder if there won't be fights every day, because listening to your views, you will be on separate pages with all of them. So I wonder how that leadership would have turned out at the end of the day. But we have to anchor at this point.
In Kogi State.
No, I'm talking about generally.
We don't fight. In Kogi State, we don't fight. If we don't fight in Kogi State, where every tribe is represented, metropolitan, the gateway between North and South, if there's no fight, I don't think there'll be fight if I'm leading the Nigerian youth across the country.
We do thank you, Your Excellency Yahaya Bello, Governor of Kogi State, for talking to us this morning.
Thank you very much.
We're back in a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back. Still protest-related subject matter about ending SARS, the outcome as a result of some of the businesses that have been hit by that. Well, Lagos appears to be doing something about it. And that's why we've got Teju Abisoye joining us now. She's the Executive Secretary and CEO, Lagos State Employment Trust Fund. Good morning, and thank you for joining us today on the program. Well, Lagos did take a hit. All right, Lagos did take a hit about this, and we understand your agency is doing something about all of this. So just give us a background. What are you doing? What's going on at the moment?
Thank you very much. So at the Lagos State Employment Trust Fund, our mandate has always been to address youth unemployment in Lagos State. And we've done this strategically by working with small businesses, giving them low interest rate loans to increase productivity so that they can employ more people. We understand what has happened to a lot of these small businesses. And what we've now set up is an MSME, Lagos MSME Recovery Fund, to actually help the businesses that have been affected by the vandalization and the looting so that they can get up on their feet and begin to thrive very quickly, despite what has happened in the last few days. That's what we're focused on right now. But at LSCTF, our mandate is always to address youth unemployment, and we have different programs addressing this.
So, about these businesses that have been hit. So what are the requirements? How do they get across? Which business can get across?
So we're working with micro businesses, we're working with small businesses, we're working with any size of business that actually have been affected. We sent out on all our social media platform, on our website, we sent out the links for businesses to apply or make a claim for this fund. Any business can apply as long as you have evidence of the looting. One of the things we're also doing is we will send out verification partners who will come and ascertain and evaluate the claims that each business is making. The fund is being managed by a steering committee because it's not only Lagos State government that has put money in this fund, it also includes the private sector. And the steering committee would determine each claim based on the verification and evaluation report provided by the business development support partners.
A challenge many micro and small businesses have is that of documentation. Many of them don't have the right papers. Some are not registered. Of course, you know the figures that of the 40 million or thereabout, just a fraction of them are duly registered. Is that going to be a problem for them to access these funds?
So what we're doing is the structure for verification will then include your neighbor, who knows you in the local government, who can verify, who can ascertain that you really were a business? Are you part of an association? Aside that, in the market, I always know that in the market they know each other very well. So we've worked with them and we know that reality. So other people will know you in the market that can ascertain that your business was existing pre-vandalization and you were a going concern. Now, where we cannot determine any of that, there will be a cap in terms of what kind of amount those kind of micro businesses will be able to get. But it also presents an opportunity to actually help a lot of them formalize, bank them now, and see how we can help them improve their results, even for themselves as a business, because that's our mandate.
Is there a timeline to this privilege that the Lagos State government is giving to people? Is there a timeline, and is it only limited to those who have these unfortunate attacks on their businesses?
Okay, no, so at the Lagos State Employment Trust Fund, the MSME Recovery Fund, we've left a window up till the 31st of October for businesses to apply, because now we need to make sure we can turn around those claims very quickly. What we want to be able to do is in the next 12 days, we want to begin to pay. That's the first thing. But there are other opportunities that are available at the Lagos State Employment Trust Fund right now. So what we had approved before this incident was the Lagos State Economic Acceleration Program, which was supposed to benefit businesses that had been affected by the COVID lockdown. And one of is sector-specific program. So you will hear we launched our program with the First Bank, which was targeted at the education sector that had been badly hit by the lockdown. We have in agriculture, we have in renewable energy, and we have the loans that are sector agnostic as well in our partnerships with different private sector banks. So there are other opportunities at Lagos State Employment Trust Fund for small businesses, and it's not just for people who have been hit by the vandalization or the looting that took place over the last few days. Also for skills, we have training programs in partnership with the UNDP, the USADF, and the GIZ, where we're telling youths who are not employed to take up this opportunity, get trained, and we place you in jobs. For the past 2 years, we've trained over 5,000 people, placed over 60% in relevant jobs in the industry as a matter of fact. So we actually want to help any young person that doesn't have a job. Look on our websites. There are different programs available, not just for small businesses, also for people to take up skills that are relevant and required in the public space right now.
Just a moment before my colleague comes in. You said your establishment is for employment. Given documentations all over the place, what's the number the Lagos State Employment Trust Fund is working with in terms of the number of people that this program of your agency can take on? How many millions of people or how many thousands of people are you looking to put in gainful employment?
Okay, so, government addresses many, many issues. Unemployment is one of it. So for us at LSCTF, our target numbers also depends on the available funds. So for example, for the MSME Recovery Fund right now, we've received over 2,000, as of today, over 2,500 applications across different local governments that we need to support. We want to raise, at least for that particular initiative, to be able to raise at the minimum 2.5 billion naira in partnership with the private sector. We have partners like Access Bank, Polaris Bank, First Bank joining us. Flutterwave, we're going to be using it. In partnership with Flutterwave, we'll be crowdfunding so that fund, if we get to 5 billion, it will be exciting for us because then
madam, just one moment, madam. Just one moment. I'm not sure you. The figure I'm asking for is not the ones that have approached you. Before the agency was set up, there was definitely a need, a gap. How many people are in the unemployment market that the LSCTF was set up to bridge the gap of?
Okay, pre-COVID, we were at unemployment rate of about 23%. I can't remember the figures accurately. But post-COVID, we are now at about 27%. And that tells us that that number has really. In Lagos, for example, you have 85 people arriving every hour looking for greener pastures. But at the time LSTF was set up, we were hoping to be able to create at a minimum 300,000 jobs direct and another 600,000 indirect jobs at a minimum at about a value of 25 billion naira was the original strategy. Now we're working that to see the reality again. By 2021, we would have new strategic figures, looking at what is the numbers and what we've been able to do with the money we used. So, for example, we've supported over 11,000 businesses with over 7 billion naira. And with those businesses have created over 100,000 jobs. That was as of December 2018. We should be doing another impact evaluation at the end of this year. And that would inform the numbers and the strategy we're looking at post-2021.
Is there any consideration, for instance, private people who park their cars in front of any of those businesses that were raised? And then what about private property?
Yeah, so if it's a business, our target, our concern really is the business. We want to get them back to work. We want to make sure they can thrive. Because look, every business affected means jobs have been lost. Today that tells me a minimum of 2,500 jobs are lost. That is a minimum. We need to make sure that these businesses get back up immediately, they thrive, and we can put more people to work immediately as well.
So is this going to be just for this period? Because, I mean, there are people who talk about, there are certain businesses that are in similarly volatile areas where any little thing, their businesses could just easily be touched or affected. So does that suggest that even after now, if any of such thing occurs in any of those businesses, they can always come to you?
The recovery fund, we think, has a life of maximum of 6 months for now. That is what we have planned as of today. If the long-term strategy actually recognizes the need to always have this fund, and so that if any business is affected at any time, then we would look at that and decide, also thinking about the fact that it's a steering committee. It's an ad hoc committee from every partner that is in the fund, so that we can all take a decision and say, look, we want to continue to have this fund available in case businesses need it in the future. But for now, what we have is a lifespan for this particular fund.
Now, I don't know, this may not be within your purview, but I'm just wondering, is there any conversation, any suggestion whatsoever about maybe the states doing something about insurance or insurance companies, or advising business owners with what to do with insurance moving forward, so that some of these things can, they can equally just get insured and insurance companies play their role?
So as of yesterday, we're in conversation with some insurance companies. My understanding is a lot of people will insure, but not against riot or against civil unrest. A lot of them have insured against arson, life, theft. That's what most of the businesses, at least formalized businesses, have insured on. But right now we want to work with insurance companies first to see, even the informal businesses, how do we get the minimum micro insurance that can cover this kind of losses in the future? So we're actually talking to quite a number of them right now. We intend to roll it out and explain the benefit of insurance to businesses as we do this recovery for them this time.
Well, we understand that there is some financial institution that is trying to put out some fund to support some of the businesses and perhaps even give employment and all of that. Is there any conversation you are having with certain private sector organizations to facilitate this, or is it just something that is exclusively government?
It's not exclusive government. I was saying that we're in conversation with Access. They brought out this fund they want to do, and they will support us with the grant element. We're in conversation with Polaris. They will support us with some funds to include in the recovery fund. We're in conversation with First Bank, EcoBank, as many of the financial institutions, Stanbic. So with our partners, Flutterwave, we are approaching not just financial institutions, but high net worth individuals, people who are interested in MSME recovery. The steering committee is made up of institutions like Faith Foundation, the EDC, WIMBIZ, Endeavor Nigeria. And the idea is to make sure that we really focus on the interest of the MSMEs. Nobody's left behind, and claims are evaluated with market.
All right, then, Teju Abisoye, Executive Secretary and CEO, LSETF. Thank you for your time and well done.
Thank you very much for having me, and thank you. Have a lovely day.
All right, we will be back in just a moment. Don't go away. Olateru Kehinde joins us now. He's an NSAS advocate and the CEO of Crinex. Good morning, and thank you for coming on this morning. Yeah, a lot is going on. That panel is sitting. They'll require so many people to come forward and come up with a thing or two to see how they can get to some background in terms of what actually transpired. So, in your space, what is going on about all of this at the moment?
Well, good morning, Chamberlain. It's a pleasure to be here again. So I think at the end of the day, everyone is taking assessments. Everyone is going back to really look at all that has happened the last few weeks. Ways and strategies to see how we can channel that energy that's been created, into something, into the political process. Basically, also to see how we can become actively involved in things that matter to young people in our nation. For example, we're looking at how we can increase voters' education nationwide. We're also looking at how we can actively play a crucial role in ensuring that there's an increase in the quality of candidates across all levels, federal, state, local governments, which I think is very, very important. Also, we also have some section of the young people also looking actively to participate in the election process in terms of coming out to become elected, from councillor to local government chairman to House of Rep, basically. And yeah, so and one of the key takeaway we can take away from all of this is the Nigerian young people in Nigeria matter, and we are also passionate about Nigeria, and we want to see Nigeria work. And also, we have come to realize that we actually have a large number, and that large number we can use it to ensure that we can demand for good governance and accountability and transparency.
Well, one of the things that these whole protests and actions that have followed and all of that has indicated is the trust issue. It's even so very pronounced now. Given the fact that youths don't trust leadership, it would seem, because when the president and authorities took some actions based on the request of the youths are like, no, we're not sure that you are telling us the truth or that you live up to your word and all of that. So there's the issue of trust right there. But then, given that, Olateru, what's the assurance, or how do we engineer trust among the young people themselves so that when they also vie for offices, fellow young people will trust them, that they will not disappoint?
Well, I mean, it's a very good question. And one of the things that we have all agreed on is, which is the general conversation, is we're looking for a common cause that we all believe in. One of the strong reasons why this movement was different from every other one was we all had the commonality, saying end to police brutality, and NSAS. Of course, there were spin-offs in terms of good governance, demand for healthcare, good healthcare education. Yes, and also you also need to realize now that that any young person that wants to get involved in governance is looking and realizing that if you can put this much pressure on our leaders, you can be very sure that by the time you want to get elected, or you are even elected as a young person, you will not be averse to the fact that you know that we'll put pressure on you, we'll demand accountability. It's okay, this was allocated to you. How did you spend the money? What have you done? Can we verify that you did this constituency project? Can we go and assess it ourselves? For example, there's an organization called Budget. I don't know if you know about them. Where you can go online and see the budget each state has been allocated, even down to constituency project. And you can walk around your constituency and see whether those projects that say has been done, has actually been done. So you can be rest assured that any young person that comes out now, you will know that it is important that as a young person, you earn the public trust, and will put tools and methods and checks to ensure that that trust is not abused, and we can openly demand, for good governance and accountability.
What is your thinking about, because the question equally leads to this one, which suggests that at the moment that, when people demonize government and governance, people just want to stay away, saying, whoa, I'm not going to go in there and I don't want to be part of these things. Now that this is happening, is that going to change the mindset in terms of what people say about governance, the impression they put out there? Because if you're going to get in there, chances are that you might just equally be soiled.
Well, yes and no, in terms of, first of all, the narrative that politics is dirty is changing among young people, because we have come to realize that politics trumps everything. You can be active in your private business, you can be active in any other sector, but at the end of the day, one government policy can take away all the energy created in your business or everything. So we've come to the fact that politics trumps everything. That's one. Number two, we are also conscious of the fact that I don't think it is demoralizing. I think we need to build a system where people can have a system of feedback, and I think that's what one of the key things I've taken away from this is to look. We need to start having feedback. Even if you're a governor, if you're a senator, you need to have feedback. What are you doing? I need to be able to ask you questions. We elected you in that office. So it is our constitutional right to demand feedback. Just almost like saying, for example, you're a CEO, you have board meetings. You need to give appraisals of what you have done the last quarter or the last year to your board. So, it's almost like, and to your shareholders, so it's almost like, if we elect you as the governor or as a senator or House of Representatives to represent us, we demand at least quarterly, or monthly, give us this is what I'm doing, these are the bills I'm passing, this is how I'm representing you people, So it's not the gone are those days now where every young person is just docile or doesn't care about anything. We have come to realize that look, Nigeria is ours, not everybody can relocate, not everybody can go somewhere else. But things must start working in Nigeria. And we're seeing now that our voices matter.
Well, I'm not sure how far you want to take that one, because, this period also has revealed how diverse our opinions are. But coming to that issue you raised about being in government and all, do you think the young people have enough understanding of how the engine of government works? Not just being a government official, but being in government, because many believe that the engine that runs the government, which is the civil service, needs a lot of work. What's the plan, or what's the thinking along that line?
Look at when people say that, and I understand where they are coming from, but look at the current set of leaders that we have now. Majority of them came into government at a very early age. And it was that time when there was no technology, access to information wasn't as easy as now as it is. Also, we have a lot of young people doing very, very well in different sectors of the economy. Even in government, I have lots of friends that are aides, technical advisors, holding important positions in government, and they're doing absolutely well. So I don't agree 100% when people say young people are not ready to understand how government works. Yes, of course, we need we need our fathers, we need people, we need the older ones to guide us, to mentor us, which is what mentorship is really all about. But that we don't have what it takes, I don't 100% agree with that.
All right, then it's a conversation that we'll also should have moving forward a lot more. But we do thank you for your time this morning, Olateru Kehinde, an NSAS advocate and also CEO of Crinet. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mbali. This is a pleasure.
All right, and so there you go. That is a show today, and what a show it's been as well. We do thank you all for watching. I know you have some things going on in your mind.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of comments on our social media handles that people should just go ahead and consume so much that you can consume there. Otherwise, we could sit there and have another episode of Sunrise Daily now just to read your comments.
It does reveal a lot, really. But thank you for watching and for letting us be part of your day today. We will be back tomorrow. I'm Chamberlain Uso.
And I'm Ayo Makinde. Have a wonderful day and please keep safe.